Welcome to the Sharkpreneur podcast with Kevin Harrington and Seth Greene. Kevin Harrington is the inventor of the infomercial, one of the original sharks from the hit TV show Shark Tank, and has generated over $5 billion in TV and digital direct response sales. Seth Greene is the world's first trusted authority on cutting-edge direct response marketing, a best-selling author, and the only 3-time Marketer of the Year nominee. On the podcast, Kevin and Seth interview sharkpreneurs who share straight talk on what it takes to explode your business.
49 faces looked to him in triumph. Over the last 12 months, they had each taken turns and promoted his business for a week at a time, driving over $987,342 in revenue. What if you had a network of 50 centers of influence who promoted your business every week for a year? Grab your copy of the #1 Amazon best-selling book, The Ultimate Guide to Growing Your Business with a Podcast, at 33% off the Amazon price by going to ultimatepodcastbook.com. Again, that website for 33% off the Amazon price is ultimatepodcastbook.com. Welcome to the podcast. This is your co-host, Seth Greene. Today I have the good fortune to be with Tim Rexius from Rexius Nutrition. Tim, thanks so much for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me. Honored to be here.
We are excited to have you. Let's go back in time a little bit. Tell us a little bit about how Rexius got started.
I worked in nutrition in the late 90s to early 2000s. And, I wanted to start my own store, buy my own store. But as I found after 5 years of college, it didn't really prepare me for figuring out ways to get financing that were alternative. So I went and worked with a company called Mid-American Research. I worked on pandemic outbreaks with the FDA. Which working with politicians is enough to eat your soul. So I figured I'd start back over in 2010, and I started my first store in Omaha, Nebraska. And, it was fun because it was the most fun I ever had selling anything back in college and when I was younger, and a little bit different when you have a couple kids and bills and all that stuff. But, I just kind of believed in a little bit different. I thought that the nutrition industry specifically had got over corporatized. It was just big corporations. It was just moving product in and out. It was all commission salesmen. And I thought health should be a little more personal. And I don't, like where I grew up in Northeast Nebraska, it's small town, everybody knows everybody. And when you needed a car, you went down to, Fred's Motors, right? And you knew old man Fred, and you got a car, you had a handshake, and that's how it was. And I wanted that nutrition. I wanted people to know that, hey, here's the guy behind it. And I care more about your health and having you repeat and buy in multiple generations of business. So we started Rexius, and everyone said I was nuts, which I probably was. And it made me go broke, which it did. But then I met my now wife 3 years into it, and we had 2 stores. And within a year, we had spread our franchise side of the business into 5 states. Just shows you the power of having somebody else who matches your crazy. And it says you're not completely insane. And, we started franchising, and, we found a really good mix with that. And, yeah.
What was the spark that led you to franchising?
Yeah. Well, funny story is my first franchisee is a really good friend of mine. And we had 2 stores already, 3, actually going on 3 stores, corporate stores in Omaha and in Norfolk, Nebraska. And I ran into him at a gas station. His name's Clayton, a very good friend of mine. And he's like, I should start a Rexius. I said, you should start a Rexius. He goes, we need to do it right now. I go, why? He goes, because I just quit my job an hour ago. I go, okay. So luckily enough, I had met some folks that were in the franchising side of things that were willing to work with me a la carte. So anybody who doesn't understand franchising, it is an expensive process setting up the federal disclosure document, the franchise agreement, and I'm just smart enough to be dangerous, I suppose. And they let me work on the document and save probably 85% of the cost.
I mean, that's a 20, 30 grand legal fee. So that's incredible.
Oh yeah. And then, after that, what I didn't understand after that was the mandated audits, the financial audits, and nobody's in these CPAs. And I love my CPA. He's one of my best friends, but he's probably best friends with me because I'm pretty sure I pay for his house, but that's besides the point. The required audits and, but we got into it. We jumped in with him and he was successful. And then we started opening more and more stores. And how my franchising has worked has been a little bit different. Almost every franchisee I have now is a former employee. And like, well, once you taught them the system and you've poured time into them and you've educated them and you build up their acumen and they've tested the waters with your money, it's kind of like you should do this on your own. You're great. And I've had people, employees say, I want to do my own store. And I'm like, maybe you shouldn't. I can't get you to show up on time. You do everything just enough not to get fired. That is not the attitude of an entrepreneur who wants the weight of the world on their shoulders. But and transitioned over the years as we own 5 companies, where we're doing business across 16 countries. I ended up selling all of our corporate stores except for the original one to my staff and turned them all into franchises. But it's a great way to lock down talent. If you've got somebody you really poured a lot of time into and you see that talent, and every entrepreneur can see it when they recognize one of their own, it's like, well, why am I teaching you all this stuff just to have you leave? That sounds silly. So we ended up financing quite a few of the stores ourselves to our guys, and here we are 17 years later, and it's been amazing.
That is absolutely incredible. What makes Rexius different from some of the other big players in the space?
One, my staff, none of them and my franchisees have stayed with this particular path. None of them know what I make on anything at all. They have no idea about margin. Not until I get them to the place of, hey, this is a potential owner. Then I start teaching profit and loss statement experience, balance sheet, margin. But until then, when they're just in the store, their only job is to make sure you're happy and healthy. That's it. Make sure you are a repeat customer, whatever that takes. It does not matter. So they don't know what my margin is. They don't know what I make on anything because that's not their job. Their job is to give you the best possible outcome for the results you want, which is really different. And I think, there's no high pressure salesman pitch. Their job is to inform you and help you, and that is it. And we live test everything, we live sample everything. I am basically a human guinea pig at this point. And now that I've retired from bodybuilding myself, I was a bodybuilder for 15 years. I'm in full blown grandpa mode now, and I'm loving it. And everybody's like, I thought you'd be in better shape. I'm like, hey, I was, but I'm older. And, I look pretty good for being 90% gray hair. So, shut it. But, that's really been the catalyst for us, is just finding talent and not being addicted to the gross profit, of owning a store, but honestly, the long-term net that we get off people.
I'm sure that the longer version of your story could probably fill a book somewhere if it hasn't
Yeah.
already. What are some of the biggest lessons you learned along the way?
Measure twice and cut once. I think I think a lot of guys can probably relate to this, but once you start having some successes, you start to think that I'm infallible. I am crushing it, and my own ego has cost me more money than I even care to count. I actually don't want to count because it'd probably make me cry. And I've ordered boxes, and I told my wife, this is the greatest, worst I told you so of all time. I'm like, I know what size it is. That's the size. We got 30,000 of them. They were 4 inches too big. And you can't ship them because they'll crush if they're too big. And otherwise, we're going to be packing them with like a billion air bubbles. And so I've had to walk by those pallets for 4 years as a gentle reminder. Eventually, I will find something to do with them. I just haven't yet. As a gentle reminder that I am not all that and then some, that I do need to measure twice and cut once. And I mean, that's been one of the greatest lessons, is every once in a while, the good Lord will give me a nice piece of humility. And sometimes you just got to be calm in the storm. I think after COVID, and even worse, the supply chain issues we had post COVID, and especially the 23-24 economy, is that you can only control what you can control. That, getting back to the basics is still the best way to operate anything. You get so far and you realize, okay, what am I not doing I did 15 years ago? Am I still going out? Am I addressing customers the same way? Am I showing them the same value and appreciation that I did 15 years ago when I didn't know how I was going to pay my rent? Because we know the difference when, you're dealing with a customer, and we just went back to the basics. So after having in one of my corporate stores, the main one, that I started, and my wife won't let me sell that one because half my kids learned to walk in that store. It's too much sentimental value, right? And we had one of our worst years in 23 into 24, and last year was one of the best years on record. Just because we just changed our approach. We went back to the basics. Are we out in the gyms? Are we meeting people? Are we proud of what we do? Or is the store clean? Is everything straight? All the little things that literally make a huge difference because they add up.
How many locations do you have now, and how many do you want to get to? What's the BHAG?
Well, at our height, we were at 37 locations across 7 states. COVID and lockdowns really nailed us in a few different municipal areas where they were locked down long term. So a lot of those franchises closed. We ended up paying most of their bills for them just because I didn't want anybody to go into bankruptcy because of my last name. So right now we're at 22 locations, and we're just kind of seeing how it goes. If I have talent, good. We're going to find a way to lock them in. We're going to find a way to get them a shop. And, right now I've got a lot of 18 to 22-year-olds in my stores and my franchises too. And I love it because they're so excited. You remember when we first started, how excited we got? And it just kind of it gets back. I'm like, yeah, this is cool. I forget how cool this job is. And so we have a nice fresh set of talent in that 18 to 22-year-old age group, which a couple years ago, if you'd asked me 5 years ago, I'd go, oh my God, we're so screwed. These kids have a work ethic. And right now I'm like, these kids are amazing. And they understand social media. They understand the game on that aspect better than I probably do now. And so we'll see where it goes, between all five companies. I kind of go where the heat is rolling. And, as my other brands have gotten bigger and the more public speaking I do about those brands, it impacts Rexius because it's my last name. And so every time I'm on a new show, every time I'm, the Omaha Protein Popcorn's launched into 16 countries. And so people see me all over the place on social media, right? But then it legitimizes my name on the businesses as this guy must know what he's doing. Um, to a certain degree, yes. The rest of it I'm learning as I go, but we'll see where it goes. If I don't ever open up another one, I'm fine. As long as it's the right people with my last name on the door, I'm good.
What are the other four brands?
I own the Omaha Protein Popcorn Company, which is spread across 16 countries. I've been traveling pretty much nonstop for that. Launching into global convenience store chains, grocery store chains, you name it, everywhere. Now producing in 4 languages. VHI Nutraceuticals, I ended up making my own brand of nutrition products specifically for combating like stress and cortisol levels and sleep issues. Basically, all the stuff that us insane entrepreneurs deal with. I'm like, I need to fix this in myself, so maybe other people will buy it. And we're in 3 countries currently for that. And then Iron Heaven Gyms. We own a chain of fitness centers. We started in Nebraska about 8 years ago, and it's growing as fast as we can build them pretty much. And that's been a lot of fun. And then the Timothy Rexius keynote speeches and consulting. I've been so far this year, I will probably do speeches in 6 different countries where I get asked. Just gave a speech in Costa Rica last week, on top of doing some other business. And so that to me, that's probably the most fun, just because, as my wife will tell you, I never stop talking. So getting paid to do it, wow, let's go. So yeah.
Uh, you've achieved so much success across many different areas. What's the biggest challenge you're facing now?
Honestly, this is the first time I've really brought on an investors into a brand, and I brought investors on into Omaha Protein Popcorn. Now, one, yes, financially, like I've never had to market, like I've ever do paid marketing. I've never done a single paid ad. I was in a dozen countries with a popcorn brand before I ever ran an ad. I'm a relationship guy. I'm old school, guerrilla marketing. I meet somebody, I follow up, I get your business card in an airport. I will email you. I just think relational. So having new paid ads, that's one thing that we brought on. So it's been challenging for me because I've never had to do that space. It's just, I always stayed out of things I wasn't super comfortable with. But also bringing on a board was amazing. And really learning to say, hey, step back, like, hey, I need your help, which is not something I do well. But as we're scaling into these massive chains, I mean, beyond, I never thought we would get here. I rely on other people more than I probably am comfortable with. Because as an entrepreneur, a serial entrepreneur, I've always just been me. I can work my way around and, work out of a problem. And so it's good and challenging where I'm like, hey, I need your guys' opinions. You have more experience in this, you have more experience in that. And so it's been challenging and exciting at the same time. And then obviously learning the culture of other countries. And as annoyed as I get by our own government, dealing with our government to another government, oh, good Lord. That'll drive a guy to drink. And so I'm learning a lot of different things. Learning last week that I really need to learn Spanish if I'm going to do business in Latin America. Because having a translator is one thing, but you know this, as the owner, if you can shake somebody's hand, greet them in the eye, that's worth its weight in gold. So I guess I should have paid attention in high school and in college in Spanish class, and now I get to relearn it. So
Your passion is obvious. What do you like best about what you're doing?
my family's involved. That my whole family. I have 6 kids and a grandbaby. When I mean the whole family, I mean the whole family. A couple years ago, I think the most depressing part was that nobody wanted to work in the Rexius stores or the gyms or the brands. Now my son's in the warehouse. One of my best friends is my business partner. Another good friend of mine's my director of logistics. My daughter is one of my assistants. My other daughter is doing our social media posting. Boyfriends, son-in-law, they're all involved. And what a dream come true for an entrepreneur to have your family, like, not force them into it, but actually I grew up on the farm. You didn't like it. It didn't matter. You either worked or you didn't eat. And my kids, I get to see this next generational value come in, and they get to be involved, and watching them grow and take responsibility on, I think that's probably the coolest thing ever.
Awesome. Well, we know your time's incredibly valuable. We greatly appreciate you spending some of it with us. For our folks who are watching and listening and want to learn more, where is the best place for us to send them?
Just go to timrexius.com. That's TIMREXIUS.com. That leads to all 5 companies. It leads to all the speaking engagements, the podcast, the clips, and all. It just kind of leads to everything from there. And if you've got a message, just go ahead and email in, and my assistants will make sure I get to it. And we welcome any question. We try to help out anybody any way we can.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. This has been Seth Greene for Sharkpreneur. Thank you, everyone, for watching or listening. We'll talk to you or see you next time.
Why do so many businesses struggle while others seem to explode overnight? Do you wish you had the secret to this type of exponential growth? Now, I've scaled more than 20 businesses to over $100 million, and it's not just luck. In my new book with Mark Tim, Mentor to Millions, you'll learn the repeatable framework I use in all my business ventures for massive success. Order at kevinmentor.com and get over $1,000 in bonuses. Head to kevinmentor.com.